Hi everyone, if you tuned in today expecting RPG Storytime, my apologies, but it's going to be a few weeks. Creating this, I've learned that it takes a little bit longer than expected to create these videos, but I really want to do them right, so I'm taking some time to finish them up. Throughout August, we are instead going to have XCOM, which is a computer game being done as a role-playing game, and those are going to be the RPG Storytimes for that time. And then in September, we're going to be coming back to Dungeons and Dragons. And when we do, it's going to be different characters. The ones that you've been introduced to are still around, but essentially the next couple stories are going to be these other characters and their tales. Because you'll notice the title is called Tales from Angepa, plural. The reason is this is supposed to be kind of a little bit like Game of Thrones in a way, in that it's really the story of Angepa, the overall, world. And it's these different storylines from different Dungeons and Dragons campaigns. So you're going to get those storylines, and then actually we're going to have a Star Wars game going on for a little bit, and then we're going to come back next year to Tales from Angepa. So you'll get back to these characters, but after some time, and especially since this is actually getting some views, I'll try doing it a little bit faster. But anyway, that is going to come. It's just next weekend we're going to have this XCOM game, going along. And this weekend I have a couple things to show you. For one thing, I'm going to show you this. These are some of the dice that we're using. They are the original dice from the 1970s when Dungeons and Dragons first came out. I remember actually I went over to my friend's place, and they said, hey, we have this new game you won't believe. And I'm like, okay, we go upstairs and go into this room, and there's no board set out. There's like some paper and pencils, and it looks like somebody's doing their homework. And I'm like, well, where's the game? And they're like, this is it. And I'm like, well, what are you talking about? And they say, it's in your mind. And it blew my mind. I couldn't understand what the heck they were talking about until we started playing for a little bit. And we played a group of dwarves, so we all got killed. But I was so fascinated because what I was seeing in my head was so much more amazing than anything I could see in front of me. And then we started getting some miniatures. We got some of the very first miniatures that ever came out, and some of those you're actually going to see in the next group of videos. In fact, including my very, very first one, which was one of the first miniatures ever made for Dungeons & Dragons, a little dwarf figure, all that sort of thing. And then box sets and all that sort of thing, and those are all in here. Actually, a lot of the miniatures in this are throughout the ages. So there are some from the very first times in the 1970s, some from the 80s, some from the 90s, 2000s, etc., etc. Some of them are Warhammer figures. They're miniatures from just like every era. So anyway, hopefully you're enjoying that. Like I said, it's going to come back September, and we're going to have XCOM through August. For now, I'm going to actually put up a video that I had intended on putting up after the very first D&D video. I actually kind of forgot, and as so happens, it's probably better to have it kind of between videos, that sort of thing. But it is really cool because there are these friends of mine over at Iron Shield Arms who teach all kinds of sword fighting, and in fact they are themselves really into fantasy gaming and all that sort of thing, and they find it fascinating the differences between what's in fantasy and what's real. So he's going to show you some of the differences between what we see in fantasy role-playing and the real way that they're used. So enjoy. We will be back with more, and I'm really enjoying this. I really hope you will too. And if you like RPG Storytime, please pass it around. The more viewers I have, the more encouraged I am to be getting more of these done. All right, happy gaming, everybody.